You're listening to the Post-apocalyptic Media Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to this 109th episode of the Post-apocalyptic Media Podcast. I'm your host, Shawn, senior editor here at Post-apocalyptic Media. And it's just me. It's just me again. Last two episodes we've had guests on. Actually, next episode, I believe we're going to have a guest as well. So I'm just going right in the middle here. Just me in the news. That's it. So I hope you enjoy this. We do have some good news this time around. Some, media news, which is always good because that's the name of the site. Am I right? We also have some UFO news, which I think is super interesting. And I mean, I'm definitely not the only one on the site who thinks that because Derek and Stephanie write about it quite a bit. And then I have some news about a very special project that has been worked on through the site and will be coming out next week. So let's get started. This first little bit of news here is about... We have Silo, right? Silo is the AppleTV Plus series. It just ended. 10 episodes, just wrapped up. Great series. For me, I literally got Apple TV Plus back for a month just so I could watch it. I haven't caught up yet, though. I might have to get it again for another month. That's how they get you, right? That's how they get you. And they make you do it for 2 months. So yeah, but I've really been enjoying it. It is a phenomenal show, just absolutely great. And so the books, I talked about this last episode too. I'd never read the books. They're on my, wish list. I have a local used bookstore, very close with the guy. I go in there all the time, and I said, you got to look out for these Silo books. This is the name of the series, of course. And the first book is called Wool by Hugh Howey, and he's like, you're not the first one to say that. And what's funny is I don't live in a very populated area. And so other people in my area are also looking for that. So there's some competition. I might have to order it from Amazon. I don't know. I really, really wanted to support a small local bookstore. And I still do, of course. But so yeah, once I get that, I'm going to plow through those. And it'll only take me about 5 years to read through 3 books. That's how I do. But anyway, so the show wrapped up. The 10th episode came out last week. And at that time, Apple worked together with Twitter to release the first episode completely free on Twitter. Now, if you're an old school Twitter user, back in the glory days of Twitter, you might be just kind of questioning, how can that even happen? How can you show an entire, 45, 50-minute episode on Twitter? Well, they've changed it. They've made it now where you can watch longer form videos. And I think a lot of that is behind a subscriber wall, but this one isn't. Apple is allowing you to watch this entire first episode for free. In the article I wrote up about this last week, I do link, and actually I embed the video directly in there. Now, there is a caveat about that too. After I did this, it has been decided by the overlord Elon Musk that embedded tweets are no longer visible unless you have a Twitter account. I believe that's the only caveat. So, if you're not signed into Twitter, when you go on the post that I made, the article I made, it will just say log into Twitter. So, I mean, you just have to have a Twitter account and log in. They're tired, I guess, of giving away free bandwidth to anyone who doesn't have a Twitter account. And, it does suck for me and for, any other, kind of journalist and writer, because we like to embed Twitter stuff directly in our posts. And it's really great. It really kind of fleshes out the article itself. Well, it's changed a little bit. You just have to log in, I think. But there's there's always Instagram, right? Instagram still allows you to do that. And I think TikTok, and it might be the only ones left. But I think it's exciting anyway that you can watch the entire episode on Twitter. Very cool. Next little bit of news here is from Box Barcelona. Now, Box was the original. It was, the Sandra Bullock movie from 18, somewhere back around there, 2019. I don't even remember, somewhere around there. But it's based on it's somewhere around there. But anyway, it was based on the 2014 novel from Josh Mallerman. About if you, it's like, I don't want to spoil a lot. I don't think it's really spoiling. A lot of people it's like an apocalypse where people commit suicide, and everyone is just, through their vision, they have to see this craziness, this kind of, don't want to spoil it. And so everyone, it's a suicide apocalypse, right? Well, so Bird Box Barcelona it's not a sequel. It's like a spin-off, it's like in the same universe as Bird Box, and it goes kind of, it goes more urban. It's in Barcelona, which is a, much larger city than the original movie took place in. It's all in Spanish, and they're talking about making spin-offs in this world for many different regions across the world. Kind of like, what would happen in this place with this type of apocalypse, right? Kind of a cool idea. I mean, it's been done before, but I think it's a cool idea for this particular apocalypse. So we know what's going to happen. We know, how the apocalypse happens, but then it's these people's specific experience with that, and most of it's in Spanish. It's not all in Spanish, but it is, of course. What do you call it? The things on the bottom, the words on the bottom that I can't think of because I don't have words in my head currently. Those things are at the bottom. But it is in English too. It looked like from the trailer, it was a mix between, like it had a woman from England who is in Barcelona. And so her parts, of course, are English. And then also there's Spanish. So it's kind of a mix of Spanish and English. Still looks really cool. That's coming out on July 14th, which is next Friday. And that'll be on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, so you can look for that there. Now, if you're interested also in a true sequel to Bird Box, Josh Mallerman wrote another book called Mallory. That was released in 2020. Val did a write-up on it back, when it came out. So check that out if you're looking more for a true sequel to the story itself. All right, Walking Dead, Dead City. That has been kind of on the minds of everyone these last couple weeks. I didn't really get to talk about it too much since it came out, but they're on episode 3. By the time this comes out, I think we'll be on episode 4 because they come out on Thursdays. I've been writing up recaps and reviews of it every week. Really, really enjoying the show so far. It's, again, I'm not going to spoil anything. It's very Negan centric though. I feel like we will get to Maggie, of course, later on, but it's Maggie and Negan. A lot of people wondered, how in the heck are you going to have those two mortal enemies together in a spin-off, in a Walking Dead spin-off, and for it to take place in New York City? Well, Manhattan, How's that going to happen? Well, they explain a lot of it pretty early on. I feel like they probably felt like they had to, they're like, let's just get this out of the way. And you can see Maggie is kind of, we saw this in The Walking Dead too, where she's kind of understanding that she can't hate Negan forever. I don't know. But also at the same time, when she thinks about it for 2 seconds, she's like, oh yeah, you killed my husband. I hate you. You are a complete a-hole, And so I think that we're going back and forth a lot on Dead City. But we see some good sides of Negan, and we see some bad sides. That's actually a big part of the plot line is that, duality of Negan. And I'm really enjoying it. There is, of course, a bad guy, an overall bad guy that they are kind of, everyone is joining forces to get rid of. I don't think that it's going to be like, it'll probably be like The Walking Dead was per season, where every season it seemed like they had a different bad guy. And that's probably what they're going to do with this. I don't know, how many seasons they're going to go into this, but this guy here, he's established pretty well. His name is the Croat, something like that, and Croatian. He's Croatian, and so it's very it's very typical of The Walking Dead. The way this guy's portrayed. If you're a fan of that, I feel like they're not mixing up the recipe. They're kind of like, here's the same thing that Walking Dead fans like, and we're just going to do it again, but this time in Manhattan, and this time without Rick or Daryl or Carol, they're going to have their own show. So yeah, I've been enjoying it so far. Episode 4 will be out on Thursday the 6th. And I do need to point out, when I say Thursday, I'm talking about for AMC Plus subscribers. And not to be, high society on you here, but that's just the way it is. It's like if you pay that $8 a month, $9 a month, whatever it is, you get it a couple days early. For everyone else, all you poors out there, just kidding. It comes out on Sundays. And so, you get it a few days early. Is it worth it? I don't know. But, if you have AMC, it'll come out on Sundays. So you have that to look forward to. Now, there's one other thing here before I get to the big project. This is about UFOs. Now, of course, they don't call them UFOs anymore, really. They call them UAPs. Everything always has to be reimagined, which stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, I think. So they got rid of kind of that UFO and unidentified flying object to make it more about things that aren't just objects, which makes sense. But if you've been following along on the website, there's quite a bit of craziness. Now, what does this have to do with post-apocalyptic media? Because it's real life, and it's, I think it's interesting. I mean, we do cover a lot more apocalyptic, real life events on the site also, but alien apocalypse is definitely a thing. And what's scary is right now, here's the predicament we're in 2023. We've kind of passed the pandemic apocalypse. I think, I don't know. I think we're kind of out of that, or at least people are acting like it. So maybe that's not going to happen. Maybe it will. So now we have the alien apocalypse pending. We also have a nuclear war apocalypse pending with China, and Russia. Look what Russia's doing. Russia's in a very scary situation. Last week, Vladimir Putin was hiding from a coup, and then all of a sudden they turned around and said, "Never mind." And I don't know what's going on with that. But we're at a pretty scary time. It's almost like a choose your own adventure for apocalypse scenarios right now. And so the alien side of this, let's focus on that, is crazy. There's a lot of information that Stephanie especially has been writing about on the site, and there's a lot of information about Congress people in the government who are saying this is real. I have 100% evidence that this is real. Now, this one senator, or he's a congressman, his name is Senator Rep. Tim Burchett. He has filed a proposed amendment seeking declassification of certain UAP reports. That's supposed to happen next week. We don't know exactly, when it's going to happen. It's supposed to happen the week of July 10th. July 30th was the deadline to get those amendments in. Well, right now there's more than 1,000 amendments. More than 1,000 amendments that have been proposed to the House Rules Committee for consideration. So that's a lot. That's a lot to go through next week. But if they're able to get this information declassified, because basically this congressman is saying, hey, the American people need to know what's going on. Then I don't know. We're going to have a pretty exciting week next week. Or, more likely, this is my belief, it's smoke and mirrors. I believe that it's kind of like, I don't know what the saying is, but it's, you give them a little bit, You give the people a little bit of information. You don't give them all the juicy stuff. You give them a little bit here, and maybe they'll be fine, and they'll be distracted, and they won't look behind the curtain and see what else is going on. That's personally what I believe. This stuff is interesting. It's also really kind of crazy that all of these Congress people are all of a sudden looking to declassify this information, and they're all saying, yeah, I think UFOs are real, right? UAPs are real. Why are they doing that all of a sudden? In the last 2 years, probably. There have been whistleblowers. There have been just all these people leaking information, and they're just agreeing with them. And that's exactly why I think it's smoke and mirrors. I think they're saying, okay, let's give the people a little bit. Let's not hide it from them, because that will definitely backfire, and people will just make bigger conspiracies and things like that. So let's give them a little bit. Maybe they'll shut up about it, and then in the meantime, we can do all the stuff behind the scenes, and maybe they'll be placated. And that, I don't know. We'll see how this goes, but it's interesting. I'd like to see this information that comes out. If it's anything, every time they say this, they're like, "There's a big press conference about the existence of UFOs," and it's dumb. I mean, for lack of a better word, it's a non-issue. We don't have any, we have lots of video evidence. All this stuff can be fake now anyway with AI and just Photoshop. Yeah, I mean, you can make animations in Procreate now. It's crazy. So all that stuff can be faked. Maybe I'm just overly skeptical. I don't know, but I just feel like we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I'm still banking on the nuclear apocalypse from China. That's the one I grew up with. That's the one I have the most faith in. That's the one I'm looking to become an oil baron. The gasoline will be mine, and I will be ruling the wasteland. I mean, that's what I'm already bald, so I'm already halfway there to becoming the Lord Humongous. I just have to start lifting weights. Once that happens, I'll be ready for the nuclear apocalypse. Not yet. Yeah, so that's that. We'll stop there. And so this last thing I want to talk about for the site. Now, I did mention this before. There is an anthology. Late last year, I did an anthology called Through the Aftermath, who I know a lot of people out there listening were contributed to the Kickstarter, which I'm eternally grateful for. And that went really, really well. It was very exciting. Now I've done it. It's ready. And it's called Through the Remains. It's basically the next in the series. And it's a short story anthology, all post-apocalyptic. This time it's 28 stories instead of 19. So that's a lot more. And all of those 27 of them are winners of the 2022 Post-Apocalyptic Media Short Story Contest. So these are people, we had almost 250 entries in that. And I still have nightmares about reading all of those. No, I absolutely love it. I love doing that. And I've read these again. All these 28 here, I've read again. Now, why am I saying 27 were winners? Is because one of them is mine. Yes, I snuck in one of my stories in this anthology. Hey, I can do that. If I'm the guy putting it together, I can put my story in the thing, right? That's how that works. So 28 stories, all about the apocalypse, post-apocalypse, and these are the best of the best. These are some great, great stories. I would absolutely love to do this every year. If this is a success, we get to the point where every year I compile this anthology of the very best of the short stories. The way we're going right now, that looks very possible. It looks very, very doable. But I'm excited about this one. The stories are fantastic. Like I said, it's going to be about 350 pages, so it's a much bigger book. No Kickstarter this time. Kickstarter was great. I really enjoyed it. I may have talked about this before, but Kickstarter added a lot of extra stuff in there. It was great for getting more of getting the information out there to people on Kickstarter who are maybe looking for a post-apocalyptic anthology. But I feel like the majority of people who contributed to that were people who are listeners of this podcast, readers of the website, my family and friends. And I just feel like that's the kind of stuff that we could do without Kickstarter. Kickstarter's a lot of fees. A lot of fees. There's also Backer Kit that has its own fees. There's postage, which went up from the time that I made the Kickstarter to the time when I started shipping stuff. So I had a cushion there, but I almost lost a lot of money there. And postage is never going to go down. Postage is always, it's one of those things that's just like, yes, it's $50 to send something across town now, and you're going to like it. So yeah, it got pretty insane with all of that. I would rather have Amazon deal with that. I actually, my wife and I earlier this year started a publishing company called Umlaut Publishing. And, as people do, when you start a publishing company, it's kind of your own stuff at first, I make a lot of coloring books too. I make one post-apocalyptic coloring book too. It's very cool. So we do the coloring books, and we also do, my books. And so far, this will be my third one that I've put together. Only one of those, two of those are anthologies. One of them I actually wrote myself, and that was AI for All. So I'm excited about this. It's going to be a big, I think it's going to be a big deal on the site. I'm going to write an article about it. I'm going to talk about it next week again, or maybe 2 weeks, on the podcast. And should be really great. It's supposed to come out on July 11th, which will be next Tuesday. And it'll be available on Amazon. It's going to be Amazon exclusive. I went through other publishers or other publishing houses before for bigger distribution, but I feel like Amazon, I'm going to try exclusive on Amazon this time, because that allows me to get on KDP Unlimited. It allows me to do some things, like to have sales and stuff like that. Some things that you can't do if you try to sell your book off of Amazon and then bring it onto Amazon from a third party, which it's a whole thing. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this on Amazon. Through the Remains, 28 different stories. Very cool cover it's a combination of AI, photo bashing, Photoshop, Procreate, digital, some drawing in there that I did. It's a really cool cover that I enjoy doing. But yeah, it's going to be a really cool story. So that'll be next week. I'll talk about it again. But I want to thank everyone, for anyone who's ever, bought one of the books. This is kind of the first one that's exclusively, or mainly, I guess, a postapocalyptic.com project. And right on the front cover, it says postapocalyptic.com presents. And that's a big deal because 27 out of the 28 stories in there are from, basically from people who entered that contest. So it's very, very cool. Yeah, but that's all I have for today. I want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank you all for your support. You guys are great. I don't say that enough, but it's really, I just sit here and talk for a half hour about things that I enjoy, and you listen. And I don't know why, but here you are. And I'm really appreciative of that. And I thank you for that. So until next time, I want to remind you all to stay alive out there, watch out for UAPs, and always be ready for the big one. Bye-bye.